In this clip, we are going to be talking about the musical elements of beat, rhythm, and meter, and unpacking what they mean a little bit more. So the first element that we're looking at is the beat, and what is it? Often in pop parlance now we say, oh, we're going to do, I like your beats, they're really cool beats. And actually how we use that term is not how we're going to use the term in class right now. So beats in the pop sense has to do with rhythm and a type of rhythm or a collection of rhythms. And in this case, we're going to use the word beat to be something like the clicking of a clock, the second hand on the clock, or it's the steady pulse, the way we clap our hands to music. And I'll point out the beat as we listen to more music as we go along. So the beat is the steady pulse, like a metronome. And then rhythm is what moves the music forward in time. It's what makes it interesting. And rhythm is the way the sound interacts with the beat, moving with it or in opposition to it. So it's how the notes are placed in relation to the beat. So here are a couple examples. Sometimes the rhythm can be straight up, and it's a piece that you've got, the sound is pretty much straight on the beat. And so the keys here are just straight on the beat. There's nothing fancy on them. The bass line isn't always moving with the beat. And sometimes there's other things going on, but you've got the keys straight on the beat that makes it so you've got almost like a metronome feel here in I've Got a Feeling. All right. Then sometimes you also have music that goes against the beat. So here's an example. So you hear the percussion in the background that gives it a steady beat there. And then the piano is playing with and against the beat. That's called rhythm. And we'll unpack what kind of rhythm that is. We have a special name for this type of playing against the beat and with the beat. But you'll notice that the rhythm here that the piano's playing makes it a lot more interesting. Now, rhythm, when we talk about rhythm as a fundamental element, we're talking about how it reacts with the melody, as opposed to, say, the rhythm section that lays down the percussion. All right, so the next term we need to talk about is meter. And what is meter? And in music, meter is a grouping of beats into strong and weak beats. And for those of you guys that grew up reading music, these are several different metrical signs. 4/4 means that the top note number tells you how many beats are in a measure, and the bottom number tells you what kind of note gets a beat. So if you make it into a fraction, the quarter note gets a beat here, the half note gets a beat, the eighth note gets the beat, if you will, and then the top number. You don't need to know that for assessment, but it's just interesting information. So long before we had a separation between music and poetry, the Greeks sang their poetry. And their poetry all had meter, so obviously the music had meter too. So here's an example of a limerick that has meter. And the meter is kind of like yabba da 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 da. So I'm going to say it, and if we were in class together, you would be saying it with me. So you can say it along with me. Here we go. I never saw a purple cow. I never hoped to see one. But I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one. So you guys can feel that emphasis of strong and weak words. In rap, we have a similar situation where the words are sometimes strong and sometimes weak, and it adds to the percussiveness and the rhythm of what's going on. But this yabba da ba da 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 is a form of meter in poetry. In music, when we have groupings of strong and weak beats, we call them measures. And so when you're trying to figure out what the meter is, where the beginning of a measure starts, or kind of what the grouping of the beats are, sometimes it's helpful to listen to the bass line. This is just your information for those of you that want to be trying to figure stuff out like that. And so here is an example of, we'll go back to I Got a Feeling because I'm obsessed with the piece right now. But listen to the bass line, and it'll tell us kind of when the bass changes is when the beginning of each new measure. So the keyboard is, there are going to be 2 keyboard hits. For every big beat. So in this case, we're looking at about 4 beats in each grouping. I got a feeling that tonight's going. Okay. So let's talk about even meters, because in music we typically have even meters and we have uneven or meters, like odd meters, I guess is a better way to say it. But so there are primarily 2 types of meter that we're going to be looking at this quarter that have an even beat feel to them. So that means that whenever, if you're marching in place or walking, or if you're using both hands to tap, the strong beat always lands on the same side of the body or the same foot when walking. So examples that we have of even meter are either duple meter, which is where it's strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, or in a grouping of quadruple meter where the first beat's the strongest and the third beat's the next strongest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 1, 2. Most of the popular music that we listen to today, and I would say a good portion of classical music, is going to be in an even meter of some sort. So here's an example of a couple different examples of even meter. If you want to tap along with it, obviously we looked at Bagpipe Peas, and that is an example of even meter. Here's another one that's an example of even meter. 1, 2, 3. It's been a really, really messed up week. 4. 7 days of torture, 7 days of bitter, and my girlfriend went cheated on me. 4. She's a California dime, but it's time for me to quit her. La la la, whatever. La la la. Again, the bass line is N, or the chord progression's helping you know the meter. But if you can march to this, it's pretty straight up. All right. Another piece that's very, very popular, that's classical, is by the composer John Philip Sousa. And if you like band music, this is, he wrote a lot of band music. He was one of the original band directors of the President's Own marching band. And so here's a live performance by a band, the President's Own Marine Band, of this piece. And listen to it. It is going to have a duple meter feel. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you want to entertain yourself, get up and walk around the room, march around the room to this tempo, this speed. Notice that the cymbals on the snare drum are helping us keep this steady beat. And then the music lying on top of it is, we use rhythm to make the music go forward. Okay, I'm going to pop up here because you got to hear probably the most famous piccolo solo in all of music. There they are. Okay, all right. Can't get too sidetracked there. So let's look at triple meter. So triple meter is this feeling of 1, 2, 3, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. And if you're walking or tapping with both hands, the strong beat will always land on the opposite side of the body. So it has kind of a swaying feel to it. Probably the most popular dance in triple meter is the waltz. And so if you listen to country music, you're going to hear a lot of waltzes, but there's not as many pieces in popular music that use triple meter. So we're going to look at first at a piece by one of the most famous waltz writers of all time, Johann Strauss Jr. He wrote in the mid 1800s, and this is his very famous piece called Frühlingsstimme. And we're going to listen to a recording with the soprano soloist Kathleen Battle. So this is for orchestra and soprano, and yeah. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. You can hear the bass on the downbeat. 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Ms. Battle is a soprano soloist, and she's has an amazing voice that does all kinds of fancy things. And this piece shows off her voice brilliantly. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there is a triple meter. Now, if you want to go into pop music, you can't do better than Aretha Franklin. And her song, I've Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, is a great example of a 3-beat feel that has a strong sense of beat. For those of you who don't know, Aretha Franklin was known as the Queen of Soul. She's a phenomenal musician. So here is Aretha. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
You're no good, heartbreaker. You're a liar and you're a cheat. And I don't know why I let you do these things to me. My friends keep telling me that you ain't no good. Oh, but they don't know that I'd leave you if I could. I guess I'm uptight and I'm stuck like glue. 'Cause I ain't never loved a man the way that I love you.
All right, so a couple more things to check out. The first is this idea of simple versus compound meter. Sometimes it feels like a piece is in duple meter, but if you listen to how the little beats are put together, it feels like it's in 3. So is it in 3 or is it in 2? What's going on? And so we're going to look at 2 pieces. One in a duple compound meter, which is the big beat feel is in a big duple, but the little beat feel is in triple. And then we'll look at a piece that's in a big 3-beat feel and a triple subdivision of the beat. So, because most of the time when we look at most meters that we have, it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 but in this case, we're looking at 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a. So the first piece we'll look at is Fallen by Alicia Keys. And in this where it feels like it's in 3. And so if you call it triple meter, I won't, that's fine. But for those of you who are like, yeah, but it's not, it's a mix of the two. Here's why.
I keep on falling in love.
2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1.
Sometimes I love you.
2. If you listen to the bottom note on the piano, that's going to be the beginning of your measure. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. Okay, and the other one is a piece by the Baroque composer Johann Sebastian Bach, and it is from a cantata of his, and it's called Jesu Joys of Man's Desiring. The German title is Herz und Mund und something 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 Tat und Leben, and most of you guys will know it by Jesu Joy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you feel that treble, but the big notes are 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Listen to the bass line. That's going to help you figure out the meter. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. So again, this is another example of what we call compound meter, when things don't line up the way you think they should. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1. All right, and the last thing we're going to look at is the idea of rhythmic complexities. So 2 terms: syncopation, which is where the strong beat doesn't, the hit doesn't land on the beat, it lands off the beat, or it doesn't always line up. So when we listen to, I'm mixing my offbeats and syncopation. In syncopation, something like, say, Viva la Vida, you've got the clicks on the beat and then off the beat. So 2, 3, that is a syncopation. Ta 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 ta. On the beat, ta ta is your syncopation. And then off beats are cha 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 cha. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the accents are shifted to a weaker beat. This is an example of offbeat music. Okay, you've got a lot of information here. Big thing is make sure you know what the difference between beat and rhythm. And rhythm can't happen in a vertical axis. It happens on the horizontal axis. It happens through time. And then the idea of meter, what kind, duple and triple meter, duple/quadruple and triple meter. So those are the big ones that you need to, those are your big takeaways. These other parts are really interesting, but not the essentials. All right.